Sitting in the Foxhole, a 5MEO DIPT report by Iuna, from Erowid, date published, September 4th, 2003. The evening started with a mystical coincidence. It was Friday, and I had made up my mind to finally try some foxy that had been given to me at a local fish show. I was going downtown to chill with a friend to see if I wanted to try it. As it turns out, it was his birthday. What a better gift, I thought. We started the evening with a double tall Long Island and a slice of pizza at a local dive techno club. I was concerned about eating before dosing, as some of the information I had read advised against it. We waited half an hour after eating, just like swimming, gotta avoid those cramps, and then we both swallowed 10 milligrams of 5MEO DIPT at about 8:30 PM. At about T plus 15 minutes, my friend decided to eat a Hot Pocket. I advised against this, as I've never had an experience with this substance before, and wasn't sure how a full stomach would affect the experience. At T plus 30 minutes, the first perceptual changes began to take place. I'd begun to feel jittery and speedy, while noticing a slight change in my ability to communicate verbally. I felt as if it took longer to formulate my sentences, and a small stutter seemed to develop. Also around this time, I was becoming more empathetic to the emotions of others. Being sceptical as to how far 10 mgs would take me, we decided to take another 10. 15 minutes later, about T plus 50 minutes, I'd begun to wonder if the other 10 mgs was a mistake. The perceptual changes were becoming more intense. Streetlights began to starburst more vividly, and textures seemed sharper. The body high was beginning to become overwhelming, and I felt the need to sit down. At this point, T plus 1 hour, I began to breathe deeply, and proceeded with a centering meditation ritual that I often use in altered states to help me evaluate my spirit and my psyche. I was becoming amazed at how clear my inner perception was becoming. Contrary to some other reports, my body actually felt more complete. I did not experience any muscle spasms or tension. My whole body felt as if it was one complete structure, absent of its various parts. I was not a collection of muscles, bones, organs and nerves. I felt as solid as marble, clear as quartz and bright as a star. Immobilised in the chair I was sitting in, I continued to ride the wave, waiting for the next level. At about T plus 1 hour and 30 minutes, I began to feel nauseous, and I began to cough excessively for what seemed like an eternity, and came very close to vomiting. So close that I could taste that bile, metallic taste in my mouth, and my salivary glands began to work overtime. I never ended up actually vomiting, but I had a feeling that if I did, I would have been shot up to a level 5-6 experience for a while. Content with the current level I was at, I just waited for this uncomfortable feeling to subside. By T plus 2 hours, the nausea was completely gone, and the cough had reduced itself to a manageable level. After walking off the nausea, I returned to my chair overlooking Broadway, one of our main streets through the downtown. It was around T plus 2 hours and 30 minutes that the truly vivid and mystical experiences began to happen. I began to feel the ebb and flow of energy all around me, like a cosmic breeze. There would be this vast flurry of activity, like a rising tide. Friends came to check up on us, which was always followed by chaos, traffic and random encounters on the street. Once our friends left, the traffic would die down, the wind would stop blowing and the street would become devoid of cars and silent all around. This made me realise that we are all susceptible to the currents of the universe. The slightest change in the cosmos creates ripples of energy that every physical and natural law here on Earth is susceptible to. By T plus 3 hours we were well inside the peak, and the peak was very LSD-like. We hit a plateau and stayed there, with only tiny perceptible valleys for the duration. It had been a long time since I had entered any tryptamine space that was so similar to acid. It had reminded me of some of the fundamental lessons that psychedelics had taught me. For the next 2 hours I remember speaking of the concept of meditation on concepts. With enough concentration, I realised that it was possible to become anything. I decided to become peace. At this point I felt something indescribable. It was as if I had decompressed all sense of self, and became only that which my mind's eye had perceived as how peace should feel. I then did this with the concept of heaven, and was awash with a bright white light and a feeling of completion. I was able to share this with my friend, and he was able to do it as I did. He was able to become a singular being of whatever his consciousness wished. By T plus 5 hours the intensity began to wane. The sheer intensity up until this point had left me glued to the chair. I'd been sitting in that chair for the vast majority of this time, save one trip to the bathroom. The only complaint that was logged by my friend was his body load and nausea. I attributed this to him eating after dosing. Hey, I warned him. At T plus 5 hours and 30 minutes I realised the trip was far from over. At this point I went inside and decided to mellow out with a bowl of cannabis while listening to Tool's Opiate. The speaker would melt and move as he sang, and even though I've heard that EP north of 100 times, I've never heard it like that before. The pitch seemed slower, distorted, and warped like a half-melted record. I also had this crazy idea that the true intent of the title track, Opiate, was not to be interpreted as a sarcastic criticism of organised religion, but that it was to be taken literally. Choices always were a problem for you. What you need is someone strong to guide you, like me. I always knew Maynard was God. This experience helped me to realise it in a way I had never done before. We weren't completely down until T plus 9 hours, at which point we proceeded to drink Bloody Marys and pop in the film Resident Evil at about 6 AM. After a refreshing drink I slept peacefully and woke up to the standard tryptamine after effects I'm used to. Fatigue, mental sluggishness, and a sense of light euphoria that permeated my essence. Contrary to some of the Takala reports and some of the negative effects listed in Erowid, I was pleasantly surprised to find most of them absent, with the exception of the nausea. I'd say that 20 mgs might be too intense for people who are not experienced with the tryptamine family. Never try to eyeball doses. A scale accurate to 1mg is essential if you wish to play with research chemicals. I was initially given one 100mg capsule. If I'd have swallowed that higher dose, when 20mg did all of the above, I couldn't even imagine where I would have ended up. But in all probability it would have been someplace bad, like the hospital, detox, or jail. Please exercise caution, especially with research chemicals. With that said, these chemicals can lead to profound, life-changing experiences. Happy trails.